He opened the yearbook to sign it for a friend, and there he was, playing piano with a quote he never said. Welcome back to Story Drop, everybody. I found this one, and it is the pettiest, most patient revenge I have read in a long time, so let's get into it. Okay, so here's what happened. This is an old one from high school, and the guy telling it, I'm gonna call him Ryan. Ryan School did their yearbook a little weird. It came out in the middle of summer, not at the end of the school year. There was some reason for it. The book had to include a few near end of year events so it could qualify for state and regional awards. So the timing was strange. The yearbook would show up midsummer, and most kids didn't crack it open right away. They just brought it to school the next fall so everyone could sign it. Seniors, though, seniors were just out of luck. They graduated and left before the book even came out, so they missed the whole signing thing. Everybody hated that part. Now, here's the small detail that makes this whole story happen. Ryan forgot to turn in his order form for his sophomore yearbook. One little form, he forgot it. So while all his friends got their books in the summer, Ryan got nothing. He didn't see his sophomore yearbook at all until the first week of his junior year, when friends started handing him theirs to sign. And that timing is everything. Hang on to it. Because when Ryan finally sat down and flipped through a friend's copy, he found a picture of himself playing piano at the school talent show. Cool, right? Nice photo. Except there was a quote printed right next to it. A quote from him. Something like, I was really nervous before going out on stage, but when I heard the applause, it was all worth it. Sweet little quote, inspirational even. There was just one problem. Ryan never said it. Okay, hold on. I have to stop here. Because I know exactly the flavor of annoyed he was. It is not even the being nervous part. It is that somebody put words in your mouth and then printed them in a book that exists forever. That is a specific kind of mad. And Ryan said it himself. He thought the quote was a little dorky even for him, which honestly, respect the self awareness. So let me tell you what kind of kid Ryan was, because it matters. He was quiet, non confrontational, the type who does not make a scene, does not start fights, just keeps his head down and does his thing. And back then, he was still, in his words, very naive. He believed in truth and justice. He was not a cynic yet. He was the kind of person who genuinely got bothered when something was a lie. So the fake quote did not just annoy him because it was dorky, it bothered him because it was not true. It was a lie about him printed and memorialized for everybody to see. And the fact that it would sit in that book forever was just a cherry on top. Now, here's the part that I think is really interesting. Ryan said if he had gotten his yearbook in the summer, like everyone else, he probably would have cooled off. Read it, felt weird for a day, and let it go. Quiet kid moves on. But he did not get it in the summer. He got it in the first week of school, which meant he was standing in the building, fully in his feelings, right next to the exact person he could go talk to. So he went and talked to her, the yearbook advisor. I'm going to call her Mins Porter. And this is where I need you to picture it. This is a quiet, rule-following teenager who believes in doing the right thing, walking up to a teacher, kind of nervous, to report what he thinks is a genuine problem. He told her it looked like she had students making up quotes, fabricating them, putting words in people's mouths. And in his head, he had a whole hope for how this would go. He figured she would be a little embarrassed. She would say, oh no, that should not have happened. We will make sure it does not happen again. Reassure him, fix it. That is what he expected. That is not what he got. Because Miss Porter looked at him and made it completely clear that she already knew, and she approved. Her reason? It was, quote, too hard and too much work to get quotes from teenagers. Okay. So, her official policy as an adult in charge of a real book was that making up fake quotes and printing them under real kids' names was fine, because asking actual students for real quotes was too much effort. That is the job, that is literally the entire job. But wait, it gets better, because she was not done. She looked at this quiet, upset 16-year-old, and she gave him a parting shot. She said, and I want you to hear this, If you don't want to be quoted in the yearbook, don't worry about it, you won't be in it. Let me just sit in that for a second. He came to her with a real, reasonable complaint, and instead of fixing it, she basically threatened to erase him. Like, oh, you have a problem with how I do things? Fine, you are gone. You will not exist in this book. And Ryan understood exactly what she meant. He knew right there that there would never be another candid photo of him in his junior or senior yearbook. Not one. She would make sure of it. And you know what? He was right, there never was. Okay, so now Ryan has to make a choice. And this is the fork in the road for me, so let me lay it out the way he saw it. Option 1. He fights her on the candid photos. He makes a big thing of it, demands to be included, maybe goes over her head. But he knew that was a fight he might not even win. And worse, going around demanding that his own face be in the yearbook more, that would make him look conceited, like some kid obsessed with his own pictures. Nobody was going to take his side on that. So the candid photos were a lost cause. She controlled those completely. She could just leave him out, and there was nothing he could do. And here is where quiet, rule following Ryan turns into a genius. He realized there was one type of photo she could not touch: the posed ones, the official ones, the club and group photos. Think about it. A candid shot is something a photographer chooses to take and print. She controls that. But the club photos, those are just everyone in the chess club line up on the bleachers, say cheese. If you are standing in the shot, you are in the shot. She cannot exactly go through and erase one specific kid from every group photo in the whole book. That is way too obvious, people would notice. So Ryan and his friends came up with a plan. The plan was simple: get Ryan into every single club photo humanly possible. Now, here is the thing: this actually worked in his favor because Ryan was already an involved kid. He was genuinely a member of a bunch of clubs. So, a lot of those photos he had every right to be in, no question. Then there were the clubs he helped out with sometimes, like he was not an official member, but he showed up for their events and gave them a hand. Close enough. In the photo he goes, and then then there were the clubs he had basically nothing to do with. Clubs whose advisors just were not paying attention. And Ryan figured out that if the advisor was not really counting heads, one extra kid in the back row of the bleachers just blended right in. And the members of those clubs, they knew exactly what he was doing, and they thought it was hilarious. They were in on it. They were basically smuggling this kid into their group photos for fun. Okay, hold on, I have to stop because I love these friends. This is the good kind of friend group. The kind that hears your dumb little revenge plan against the yearbook teacher and goes, yes, absolutely, get in the photo, we got you. So, just so we're all clear, because I genuinely cannot believe this is my new favorite plan, a quiet, non confrontational kid who got told he would be erased from the yearbook responded by quietly appearing in dozens of photos across the entire book, completely legally, with a small army of friends covering for him. Let me tell you, that is not revenge, that is art. And I have to ask you guys real quick, because I go back and forth on this. If a teacher told you straight up that you would never appear in the yearbook again, would you have let it go? Or would you have done exactly what Ryan did and made yourself impossible to remove? Tell me in the comments because I know what I would like to think I would do. But Ryan actually pulled it off. So let's talk about how many photos we are talking about here. Ryan says he thinks he ended up in dozens of group and club photos across his junior and senior years. Dozens. Just picture flipping through that yearbook: chess club, there's Ryan. Some science club, there's Ryan again. A club he was maybe never even in, back row, there's Ryan, just smiling away. The woman who promised he would disappear from the book made him one of the most photographed kids in it. But that is not even my favorite part, because here is the detail that makes this perfect. Every single time there was a club photo, Ryan had to walk past Miss Porter to get to the bleachers where they lined everyone up, and every single time he waved at her. A nice little wave as he strolled to his seat in a photo he was absolutely not supposed to be in. Sometimes he would even add a polite, "Hello, Miss Porter." He waved at her every time. And Ryan said he took a little bit of joy every single time watching her look at him like she'd just sucked on a lemon. That is the image I'm leaving you with. This teacher, standing there, watching the kid she tried to erase walk into yet another photo, giving her a friendly little wave, and her face just going sour like she bit into a whole lemon. And she could not do anything about it. That is the beautiful part. She started this. She said the words, "You will not be in it." And he found the one move that turned her own book against her without ever breaking a single rule. Okay, so here is my verdict, and I do not think it is close. Miss Porter was completely in the wrong. She was printing fake quotes under real kids' names, and when a student politely brought it up, she did not just brush him off, she threatened to erase him. That is a grown adult trying to punish a 16-year-old for telling the truth. Not okay. And Ryan is a legend. He did not yell. He did not start a fight he could not win. He did not make himself look conceited. He found the one thing she could not control, and he used it quietly and perfectly for 2 whole years. And he got his friends to laugh along the entire way. You know, it reminds me a little of that kid from another story I read, the one who waited years for the right moment to get back at a bully. Same energy. Patient people are terrifying. Do not make an enemy out of the quiet one. That is the story. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, seriously. Now I have to know where you land. Was the wave too far? Or did Miss Porter earn every second of that lemon face? Tell me in the comments. I really want to know if you would have done it too. And if you want another one right now, there is a story sitting on your screen, and I promise it is worth your time. Go on, I'll see you over there.